Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Michael. Today I want to walk you through another one of my trailer tracks. This one is an epic orchestral style song. So let's play the song and then we'll break down some of the elements of the song and hopefully there's something that you can take away from the breakdown. So let's go. Okay, so that's the song. Hopefully it's something that has something for you to look into here. Keep in mind that when I write these songs, I don't necessarily mix them, as you probably noticed. They can be kind of fuzzy because I submit them to the publisher, and the publisher usually does all the mixing and mastering. So don't get too hung up on the mixing. I just want you to basically learn from the creative side of the song. So let's start with the piano because that's obviously where the song starts. And we've got some pads here that we'll play. Just, you might not even notice them, but they're there. So let's start there. Cool. Pretty simple. I had that idea just playing piano. At some point I was just playing around and I came up with that idea. You can kind of see that it just is, the chords kind of just stay the same, but for the most part it's just a nice little melody that we add a couple little notes to here and there to give it a little more creative, and the pads kind of grow as time goes on. You can see this one's going up in the volume modulation. So it's just kind of like a nice smooth intro. Along with that, we have the strings and some FX. For me are usually just like downers and any whoosh hits and all that kind of stuff. So let's listen to the strings and the FX. So really not that much to it right now. The chords just kind of repeat. It's an ensemble patch, just playing the chords that are played throughout the piano. And it kind of just leads us into this nice little break here. And then this is kind of where everything comes together. We get like many instruments that come in. So let's, you know what? Let's check the piano right away. Basically, we're playing the original intro part here. We don't need that like do 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 part anymore. It'll kind of conflict with some of the other things going on. So the piano is basically the same. Let's check out the strings. So let's stop it there. That's about like halfway through our second act here. Basically, we've got the staccato notes in multiple instruments, but the real standout is obviously that cello here. So that is like really beautiful sounding. Let's check it out. Just like really nice. I think it's called Tina Guo. I think that's anytime I get a chance to use that thing, I just really love. I just like even playing with it. It's just like a really beautiful patch. So those sound great, or the cello sounds great. Let's listen to this. This is like the staccato kind of. This is kind of like pumping the song forward. So you can hear it is really just following the chord progression of the piano. And we've got kind of like low, middle, and high notes. So let's take a look here. What do we got here? Kind of like our Imperial March thing going on there, just very low. You don't want to have notes happening too quickly usually on the lower end, just because it can get very muddy. So that's very like just pulse-like. Now let's see what we got here. So those sound great as well. Those are from Arc, it sounds like. Just this nice little kind of repetitive line going back and forth. Doesn't have to be too crazy, it's just very simple, and it is effective. So we've got that, and then above it here, we've got the violas. Now they're playing the chords again, but they're playing at a much faster interval than the low end was. So let's listen to that on its own. So nothing too crazy. You can even see right here, I actually missed a note. So that'd be something that we could fix. That's why you listen to all your tracks when you're about to bounce them. You know, that's one little thing, an error we found. What else we got here? So on top of that, we've got, I believe that's the same line as the arc here. So together they sound like this. They're just in different octaves. So altogether, it sounds really nice. And keep in mind, we have those chords being played earlier again as well. It actually looks like I added one more as well at the bottom here. This probably might be just to beef it up. Yeah, just some the low end strings there just to add to it and just create a fuller sound. So that's the strings. I think that really sets the tone with the song where you're like, okay, here we go. This is cool. Then we've got a simple pulse here at the bottom. Barely noticeable. Just kind of adds to those staccato strings. Just another element added to the song. And again, they're just following the chord progressions. Okay, so that's the strings. We've got the piano down. Now, the brass and the percussion is really important here because that's obviously where a lot is happening. And like I said, the song's not mixed to the level that it needs to be, but a lot of the mud and stuff is coming from the percussion. But let's give it a listen. So nothing too crazy there. It sounds pretty great. I like how organic it sounds. It sounds like it's in a big room or some kind of church or something like that. Very like a lot of reverb going on. I don't know if I necessarily added that. I think that was just the patches. I'm not going to go into each patch for each thing because I want to try to respect people's time. But that's the percussion, and let's hear a little bit of the brass as well. So really, really simple stuff on the brass right now. It's just following the chords, and I guess I decided that this Brahm here is also brass as well, but I guess that's not quite the case, but you can understand where I'm coming from. So we've got the chords being played through the brass, the percussion is introduced along with the brass, the piano is basically staying the same, the strings are really pushing forward. And you can see about halfway through this act here that we've got a couple of different things change. So you can hear new percussion elements be introduced. Very cool. Just added a little, it just feels like something's changing. And that coincides with the introduction of the choir, which is obviously super important. Otherwise, it'd be too samey. So you can hear the choir come in. So that sounds really beautiful to me, and it really let's hear it all together. When it comes in, it just really makes the song. Now, let me just mute it, and then you can hear the difference. It's pretty subtle. You can see I kind of struggle writing with choirs because they can take up a lot of the mix, and it's just a lot to work with. But you can see I'm just again playing the chords, and it's really important here to note that if I hit the A button here, A on the keyboard, and switch to the modulation, you can see how much they are kind of starting to get bigger and then being pulled back over and over again as the chords are progressing. So it creates this kind of they're not harsh, they're very soft and add to the track, and I think they complement the strings well. Okay, so FX again is just kind of like booms and hits, nothing too crazy. Risers, if someone wants a separate video on those, I think I might have even already done one, but let's move on to the next section here. We've got a little break with some taikos that play, and then you can really see how everything comes in. So there's a lot to unpack there. So the strings, let's listen to the strings first. That's kind of where we're starting. And again, I think the piano is almost identical. Let's just listen to the piano quickly. Yeah. Nothing going on there. Nothing to report. Strings. So really, that's a lot of the same going on. For a second, let me look at the arc thing here. It's a lot of the same going on. a couple variations in terms of like just kind of what they're playing, but for the most part, you can see that it's following the same thing that I was playing earlier, but with some new instruments added and even some taken away. So you can see here specifically the new, like the addition. Okay, so the biggest thing I'm noticing, I think, is this arc line, like these lines here. So let's compare them. It sounds like it's just changing. I'm not quite sure what it is, but so yeah, that really sounds like it's not quite hitting its peak yet, and it's still waiting to really like to give her. So let's hear here. Okay, so the change is now the melody. Sorry, I'm putting my hand in front of my face when there's a microphone. But we've altered this. It is now following the chord progression instead of just staying with the D. It's going across the chords. And you can see those little to just kind of emphasize things. So that sounds really great. That's a cool little addition to the song as well. So we've got we just basically thickened it up and added some variations to make it more, just to make it more interesting. So let's move on to the brass here. This is really where, the brass shines at this point. That's, that gets super meaty there. You can hear the horns coming in, and they've got kind of, now they're at the forefront instead of being the background chords. Basically playing the same thing twice with just that little, no, excuse me, well, not quite in key there, but do do do, right? So like just right in your face, and it just sounds very big, and you can tell that we've added, like, let's just compare, like, let's say this is the second act here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 instruments playing. All of a sudden we've got an extra whole section here creating this very thick, you can hear the chords playing. Let's see, hopefully I won't sing anymore for you guys. If you really wanted to, you could change a couple notes in the chords here and there just to kind of like just to make them sound a little bit different. But it just sounds really cool like that, especially with the melody and the French horns. It sounds great. I'm a big fan. Or you kind of find yourself making similar melodies. You fall into things that you like to do over and over again. So one thing that I like to do is kind of like, when I'm making a melody with the French horns, it's cool when they come in not on the one. They come in a little bit after, so it's like do 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 do, right? They've kind of like got a little bit of a delayed start, and it just, I don't know, it just works. So like, really cool. So let's minimize that for now. And then, so hearing that along with the strings, what do we got? Okay, so something we should really point out here. I'm sorry if this video is taking too long, but I feel like there's lots to talk about. Let's hear that original cello. The line is still going, but we kind of made the French horns work around it so that it's not necessarily taking up the space of the cello. Right, so that da, da, da happens after on the cello, happens after all of the French horn has really, like, the French horns have played their cool melody and then they're kind of holding a note. That's when the cello swoops back in and makes these nice sounds that complement the. I guess the French horn is complementing the cello, but it really feels like the French horns are now in charge. Okay, so that's cool. Let's move on to the second half of this act here, and we've got. The choir's getting bigger and the percussion we didn't go through. So let's hear the percussion. Cool. You get the idea. So the biggest thing there is obviously there's just like these huge cymbals coming in. You can see Strike Force is doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. It's really kind of like pumping as opposed to just the ba, ba, ba. Now it's really like giving her. And you can hear a lot of like right? So the percussion is really pushing forward now, and the cymbals kind of like cut through the high in there to just it just sounds like the song is like a little more relentless than it was before, as opposed to it's just thicker and is just it's not really like an angry song, but there's a lot of mean elements to the song, if that makes sense. So let's hear the choir now. So like I said, I've struggled to record, or not, because I'm not singing, but I've to work with choirs before, and I like the way they come in and out. You can make it sound pretty beautiful. So the biggest thing I notice here is that you hear higher, like you hear that like the octaves have changed at one point. So there's this element here that didn't exist before this choir. We just got a whole other choir added to it, and then you can see just by looking at the notes that we've made these more aggressive. So in Logic, at least, the velocities, I've set it so that the kind of the more harsh color, like a dark red, would be the most strong note. So you can just hear that the choir is like more aggressive now. It's getting a little, you can hear it, like there's a lot going on. My computer is getting pretty old these days, so it's getting a little crackly. But let's move on to the last. You know what? Right here in the second half of this third act here, we've got the high strings that come in. So let's just hear those quickly. Okay, so I forgot to mention, basically the French horns just start a whole new like kind of like melody here. So we go from the I'm noticing that I have some strings here that were stuck in the percussion. So let's hear those as well. So the strings definitely are playing the same thing, but they definitely kind of add a different element to it because they're not nearly as aggressive as the French horns. So that's a cool little section there. It keeps things new, I think, and really pushes us towards this kind of finale here. Because like I usually just say it's first act, second act, third act. This is definitely like an extension of the third act where it's like the conclusion to the song. So let's listen to this and then we'll go through it. Sorry for the crackling again, but let's listen to the piano. So you can see that the intro to the piano just is repeated over and over again. This is the part where the song where the chords actually change. So we can hear. Cool. So you can even see I added here at the bottom the horde. That's like a really low sounding brass that just gets it like super meaty. A little 2D sounding, little farty, but that's okay. We still love it. So you can hear everything is basically staying on that, I think it was a D we said, nah, nah, except for these French horns, which are climbing up, really creating like this like climatic section. Pretty cool. And then let's listen to the strings. Cool. So you can hear there the cello is now doing what the French horns are doing. You can kind of hear, I think because the notes overlap, there's a little bit of a legato slide there, which sounds really nice. And obviously the strings are just repeating. It almost sounds kind of like if you've ever heard the show of Daredevil. Kind of there, but it's not like Daredevil invented strings, but... Okay, let's acknowledge that last section here. You can just hear that the strings go crazy. I guess I'm in the percussion. So if we go up here, I'm guessing it's the arc again. Very cool. Just add something to the end of the song. So again, just keeps you guessing one more time. And then let's give a listen to the choir. And then that's basically that. It's kind of like they're sustaining the notes the whole song. It's all these long chords, and right at the end we get this kind of like pumping choir that always sounds so like churchy. You know what? And we should go to the percussion. The percussion, that's where let's turn it down a little bit. But just gets super big, and you kind of got to do that, like the percussion that you always hear in trailer music. It's just the let's hear that one more time. I always love hearing that stuff. Let's see which one was doing it specifically. Pharaoh, maybe. You got to play with the timing of the instrument. Right at the end, we kind of remove a bunch of the instruments and get just kind of a more somber ending note. That's the song. It's fun to go through it. I haven't listened to the song in a while, so definitely needs some mixing, but again, it's about the creativity and what you can do with these instruments and how you stack them up to make something really awesome. Or at least I think it was fun for me to do and good learning experience. So hopefully you take away something from this song. I'll catch you in the next one, and thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.